From 2021, it's The Snoopy Show on Apple TV+. Now this is a reimagining, not really a reimagining, it's just another chapter in the Peanuts series, but this one focuses on Snoopy and Woodstock to an extent, with Charlie Brown and the other characters sort of being side characters a little bit.
Yes, I like this. I think it's interesting because usually when there are remakes of Snoopy, I don't really like it. But I found this to actually be a little interesting. I like how we kind of see the backstory, but I don't want to see too much of the backstory.
I agree. They really do approach this from Snoopy's point of view, but I think it's done in a tribute to Charles Schulz. It feels like several comic strips. You get 3 segments in each episode, and it feels like several comic strips from one of the books, let's say, that all have the same theme. And Snoopy will go through it. Woodstock is there. Charlie Brown and the other characters are prominent enough, but they're not the focal point. Snoopy definitely is. At first, I had a little bit of an issue with Snoopy's vocality and Woodstock's vocality. They don't talk, they make noises.
Yeah.
And it threw me a little bit at first because I'm so used to the sound that Snoopy used to make in all those traditional vintage cartoons. But I did get used to it, and I did enjoy it, and I thought the characterizations and the animation was really, really good here.
Yes, I think that specifically Sally, I would say, her voice is different to me. And I know that all of their voices are a little bit different, but Sally's was a little bit more, which I had a problem with that. That's probably a personal thing. I just can't get used to that when I love these characters so much. But other than that, I think that this show is actually really good so far of what we've seen.
I think this coupled with the Peanuts movie, which came out a few years ago, these are both much more in keeping with the Peanuts that we know from the holiday specials that have become a huge part of everyone's life and experience. These are closer to that than, let's say, some of the other ones that were made, like the Mayflower episode. I know Charles Schulz was still supposedly involved with those. They just didn't feel right. Something else here that works is, even though we don't have the Vince Guaraldi jazz, we do have jazz music, something in the same realm as that music, and it feels right for these characters.
Yes, I was happy that they didn't do other music and music with lyrics because that was an issue for me. I think Snoopy and Woodstock are both of my favorite characters in this, as well as Charlie Brown. And I like how they're focusing on Snoopy this time, not just Charlie Brown.
Right, and he's less human in some ways. I mean, he does human things, but they keep him a little closer to an animal than a person, I think. But he still works. It still works. He's still the Fonz of the Peanuts, group. I do think it would be nice if they could somehow bring that Vince Guaraldi music back, because I think that's so iconic and so synonymous with those characters that I feel like that's what's missing. It was like when they redid the Tom and Jerry cartoons. It's not quite the same as the ones that you knew from the 50s. It's the music, many times. Somewhat the animation, but the music. The animation here works. The music is closer to correct. So for me, I think this is a good step for those characters in bringing them to a new generation and keeping them relevant. So I think it's one to see.
I think it's a one to see here too. I like how we're focusing on Snoopy and Woodstock, and I think that the only problem for me is Sally's voice, but that's a personal thing.
And that might be something that you'll get used to over time. I understand that though, I really do. See what I did there?
Oh, Daddy.